episode 1 through 3. We're going Rogue One, and we're going the original trilogy 4
How
through
dare
6.
you?
We're ranking these films.
How dare you?
Ray loves it. Ray loves the new trilogy. We're gonna get to his opinion on those later. Mike Story, Big Ray, Ben Bartelt. We got the crew in here. Star Wars fanatics, if you will. Story, I know it's not your favorite, sci-fi franchise. Is that correct?
It's not. It's top 3, but I would go Star Wars. I am certainly a Trekker, and then Galaxy Quest is, while it's only one movie, it is. I would argue it as a movie is better than the entirety of the Star Wars franchise.
We got to strike that from the record. Let's do a rewind on this one.
That's not true, but that's okay.
Ray, it's the GOAT, right? This is the GOAT. This is the space opera. This is the ultimate of the ultimate in terms of sci-fi. Multiple different generations it touches, right? We grew up through 1 through 3. You got the standalone films now, and then 7 through 9. You're a fan of. Most of us don't like it. Not to mention the Mandalorian. It keep on making money. The Disney stuff I'm not a fan of, but this is your ultimate, right? Ultimate sci-fi franchise.
Yeah, I mean the 1 through 6. George Lucas, he clearly is a genius with this whole thing. I mean, when our parents were introduced to this whole universe of Star Wars, A New Hope is the only movie that is like it could be its own standalone film in the Star Wars lore. Everything else after that movie has to have some sort of background to know, and not necessarily like a full like blown like many other like for instance Marvel, the MCU, like they went down the road to where if you didn't watch all the TV series, all the movies, et cetera, you're gonna be lost. Like A New Hope was that perfect and so new. It was his own standalone film in the whole lore of Star Wars, and it was for its time an epic piece.
Let me just before you think that I'm not
Ben, you're the youngest one.
I have the original 3.
I got those 2 stories. Yeah, rock out, brother. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
fuck yeah, dude! I know Jimmy's story. God damn it! You know what? You might have to make me go find my real quick. I got those 2, bro. That's amazing.
Ben, you're the youngest. You're the youngest one here. You were how old were you even when episode 1 came out? Were you even born?
Oh God, when did episode? What year did that even come out?
99, brother.
Nope.
Nope.
Before my time.
So you have an interesting perspective because me and Ray and Story, we grew up with those films. Obviously, I had seen the 4, 5, and 6, the original trilogy, before I saw episode 1 as a child. But we saw these movies in the theaters, right? Which kind of blossomed our love for this entire franchise. So you have an interesting perspective because you came out after 1 through 3. And your list is going to kind of show that. I love your list. I know everyone's list here. No one else knows the other list, so I am kind of the keeper of the lists. But what originally drew you to Star Wars? And obviously, I know you're a huge fan. So, like, what was it about Star Wars that made it your ultimate sci-fi and just in general one of your favorite franchises of all time?
I honestly, I can't really even pinpoint what it was directly. I think it was just the sci-fi aspect of it that did draw me in. I mean, just Star Wars in general.
Movie? Come on, there had been one movie that really pulled you in out of the first 6. It doesn't matter which one.
It's episode 3 by far.
Yeah, buddy.
And I mean, as the youngest one here, I mean, that's probably expected to be the answer. But I mean that you'll find out later that tops my list, and that will always top my Star Wars list. But I mean that drew me in, and then even as a young kid, I ended up watching the older, technically the first original movies too, and I mean I actually have that same box somewhere deep down in the basement. I know my dad had it, so I'd be able to pull that same thing out too. Story, so
nice.
But yeah,
I want to get your guys' take.
I
got to get your guys' take on George Lucas, right? So the original A New Hope is going to be probably pretty high on all of our lists, but George Lucas has been pretty adamant about saying he had this entire thing in his head. He wrote it out. It was already all planned. I don't necessarily believe the guy. I think that A New Hope was kind of a one-off. He wrote it, and then it's easy for him to say now, well, I had all this shit planned, which is kind of weird because of Luke-Leia dynamic, the sexual tension. I don't think he would have wrote it like that if he had known that Luke and Leia were sisters. So, Story, do you buy into this George Lucas thing that's, he's trying to like pretty much pat himself in the back, being like, I knew this. I had this planned. This was all written way before it came out.
I do. I take him for his word at that. It's incredibly difficult to weave multiple storylines and an overarching plot across 9 movies, but it managed to capture something that I don't think can really be done with outside the genius. I hesitate to use that word because genius gets thrown around a lot, but he absolutely was a genius. And if you look at the way that the movies were created, pitched to studios, financed, so Empire was, he threatened to actually go finance this himself if Warner Brothers didn't pony up the movie, and he managed to get a ton of you got the merchandising rights. Like if you don't believe that you have this overarching vision, then you don't put everything that you put into these movies.
Ray, what 100%. Do you think, man? You think you agree with Story? This was all in his head, or did he just say that to kind of make himself seem cooler?
So, admittedly, I said what I said the first time, you watch A New Hope. That's the only Star Wars movie watched from the beginning to end that can be its own standalone film. So, admittedly, I'm saying I'm a Story. The dude had the stuff outlined. Now, Rob, to your I don't disagree with your reasoning either, though. Because I'm with Story. The guy is that much, and I will use the word, he's a genius, it was storytelling. He's a storytelling genius that he was able to write this whole cinematic opera, a sci-fi opera. That's what this is. It's a sci-fi opera. It's so well done. There's so many aspects that I don't even care if you don't like sci-fi. If you watch episode 1 through 6 with Rogue One, that's in the middle of those 2 movies, or so those 2 trilogies, it's all wraps together so well. I just have a hard time thinking that he just had a 1 movie timeline and just one-offed it. I think that it's just like, I don't think that. No, I just think that he may not have had 1 through 9 written out. He may have developed the 7 through 9, in like the mid 2000s. Because he's set on video that he had that ready to go, and Disney just completely said, fuck you, and we're not going to listen to it. And that's what we got, the last trilogy that everybody fucking hates, rightfully so.
So B-Show says, hopefully Star Wars gets better. I'm not a big fan of 7 through 9. We're going to get to that a little later. But also you have The Mandalorian, a lot of these one-offs, Solo Story, and then some other stuff. Ben, what are your thoughts on the modern Star Wars ever since Disney bought it from Lucas? Now, let's be honest. Lucas could not turn that down. Billions of dollars he got. Like, it was also like giving away his baby in the wrong hands.
How sad did he look when like everybody in here, when you saw the video of him signing that away? He looked up. His face looked like as if he might as well have committed suicide. It was the saddest.
It was like Fever Pitch.
Now, I'm sorry, Rob,
Fever Pitch when he's signing away his season tickets. It's exactly what it looked like.
Man, but that's a $4 billion signing, so it's like as much as I want to feel bad for the guy, because I do. I mean, admittedly, Disney ruined his baby, so like he deserved to, like, what his thought was, they're gonna ruin it. Well, they did, but at the same time, I'm not gonna feel bad for a guy who is worth $5 billion. I mean, he got $4 billion from them. So the $1 billion plus he was worth already, it's like, okay, a billionaire I'm not going to feel bad for. But at the same time, a guy who went through the hardship to create his own universe and just literally get shit on, I do feel for that, because I'm a creative person, creative thought person, and that's an upsetting thing, man. When you go through so much effort just to let somebody who doesn't know shit about what your thought process is ruin it, that's fucked up. And that's exactly what he went through with Disney ruining his entire universe, honestly, up until the TV shows. At least the movies, those are a travesty.
Ben, what are your thoughts on the newer stuff? So everything past, let's go to Solo, and then 7 through 9, and then The Mandalorian and some of the miniseries. I mean, have you watched them all? I kind of tuned out after I watched the first season of Mandalorian, and then it's almost too much. I'm more of a nostalgia guy. I can just always go back and watch episode 3, even some stuff from 1 and 2, and then obviously the original trilogy, which is goated. So are you a fan of it? Have you watched it all? Like, what is your love level of these things?
I have watched it all. Whether I loved it, liked it, hated it or not, I have, in its entirety, everything that has been released on the Disney side of it, I have watched it through from start to finish. To circle back on a little bit of a point, I personally don't ever like throwing out the genius term that Story and Ray threw out. I do agree with you guys on this point, because he is one of those select few. I categorize him as one of just like the select creative psychopaths in the world. Like, I do think he had the entire thing planned out. I think he originally went into it thinking it was going to be a 1 movie thing. But once it got past that point of, I mean, you can see it with episodes 7 through 9 that like it was there, it just wasn't there at the start. That's where the kind of fall off of Star Wars started. I'm kind of with the fall off bandwagon. I mean, I will say there are some of the shows that I do really like. The Kenobi show, I know some people have their opinions on it. I actually did really like that series, that show. Ahsoka, I was pretty high on. Mandalorian, towards the end, I'm kind of with you. It kind of fell off for me at the end. But I mean, obviously, nothing's going to compare to the first 6 movies. But the Disney stuff, I am with you guys. It definitely has fallen off. Even being the younger, because I know that has catered towards the younger crowd. Even being part of that, not with it. I am definitely on the side of the first 6 movies.
Story, have you watched the new stuff? Like, have you like watched the entire catalog, or have you kind of tuned out like me?
No, I've tuned out. I watched episodes 7, 8, 9, saw them in the theater, didn't care much for any of them. They were disjointed, obviously different directors. There was no through line. Things changed quite a bit. It was very mediocre, to put a point on it. I did see Solo. I haven't seen any of the Disney Plus series. It just doesn't catch my attention. I don't have the interest in the extended lore. I mean, there's lore and everything, right? Like the guys you see in the background at Mos Eisley. There's comics and books and stuff like that written about these characters, and I just don't have the mental headspace to get into all the canon related to it. I'm not begrudging anybody who enjoys those shows. I've heard very good things, just not for me.
Right. Does it actually enhance? So, you know, certain things like watching a prequel or watching a sequel can enhance the original. So in all this giant catalog stuff, does it actually make the early movies better for you? Or is it just kind of just extra fluff, right? Just extra stuff to watch regarding the Star Wars universe?
So me personally, I'm a person to where if I watch anything entertainment, if it just entertains me, I'm okay with it. Now, I know it's lame ass shit to say, but again, I'm saying like for story, like I'm telling you guys, like when I knew going watching into 7 through 9, those would never live up to anything close to what Lucas put out. I knew that, but that doesn't mean I hated them. They weren't as good. They just weren't like, honestly, if all 3 of you, and especially the other 2 who over Rob, Story and Ben, was be real, like those 3 movies echoed the other 2 trilogies. Like you go and tell me I'm wrong, I'll explain to you how you're wrong as well. Because they all did was take the main hero, Luke, make him a hermit, which was Yoda, and and Ben Kenobi, same bullshit, and move it along. Like I'm saying that the hate is worthy, but at the same time, the hate I think is not fully warranted to a point that the movies were. I mean, I guess the reason why you would hate them is they were shittily done. But literally, Force Awakens, A New Hope, Last Jedi, New Empire, and Rise of Skywalker was a way shittier version of Return of the Jedi. But in reality, if you look at the base of those 3 movies, or of each of those movies together, they were the same. Now, admittedly, Disney completely flopped and fucked up those ways to do that. That's why those are horrible movies. But at the same time, like when people were pissed off that like Luke Skywalker just like was a hermit and died, okay, what the fuck did the Yoda and Ben Kenobi do? Same goddamn shit. So I'm just saying, when people were mad about that,
it was between that and Muhammad.
Why the fuck would it be between that or Muhammad? Why don't you just pick a common name like a normal person?
Muhammad is the most commonly used name on earth. Read a fucking book for one.
And there's that.
That reminded me of that so much.
No, and you're right. No, because but I'm saying
Seth,
for me,
man.
No, but I'm saying for me, that's exactly like they were way worse done than the other 2 versions of each of those movies. But it was in reality. Now, admittedly, when Leia fucking went flying through the whole fucking dead space, that just totally lost me at that point. And then especially when I joked in the group chat that with the fucking lightsaber fight with Kylo Ren and Rey on the fucking wave. But that was the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. For God's sakes, for the prequels, they had to slow it down.
I will say that 7, 8, and 9 did produce 2 of the greatest Saturday Night Live sketches of all time, and it's when Kylo Ren goes undercover boss.
Yep.
The That was
Yep.
That's not a ringing endorsement, though, but like it is nice that it produces some good stuff.
How horrible they were, exactly. But
hey, something good came out of it.
So it appears we're doing 7 through 9 right now, real quick, but we all agree that Force Awakens is the best of the three, because I have actually watched that one like 4 or 5 times, and I have only watched the ninth film. I've only watched it one time, and I was like, this is bad. Force Awakens, although it is pretty much a play-by-play of A New Hope, it's got all those elements in there. It's got the most nostalgia of all of 7 through 9, and I love the introduction of the characters. I feel like it's awesomely shot. It has a lot more Rogue One vibes than you might think. It's very dark.
Dude,
I feel like they just went in way different direction
for his character. Like throughout the other 2 films, he was like, "Oh, it's fucking trash" for Kylo Ren. But that first film, when he was talking to Vader's burned up helmet, and it's just like, "Holy shit!" Like this seems fucking awesome. Then he fucking kills Han, and you're like, "Holy shit!" But then it just fucking Palpatine lives in Episode 9. Are we fucking kidding me? Like. Okay, then, I want Samuel L. Jackson ass back in this fucking whole lore of Star Wars, because because Ben can back me up, and I'm sure Story can as well. Rob, with Episode 1, Darth Maul got murdered and cut in half. Well, Clone Wars, which was the animated, series, he brought back, but that brought back the best version of Darth Maul. Ben, tell me if I'm wrong here. I know you watched it.
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope. I 100% agree.
Yeah, so I'm saying, like, it's just crazy that, like, I'm just upset that they just let Samuel L. Jackson and Mace Windu just get, literally, he's the only one who was in the lore of Star Wars and everything. Supposed to be one of the strongest Jedi. Now, sorry, please help me out here. Supposed to be one of the strongest Jedi ever. And now, rightfully so, got fucked up and lightning out of everything. But why didn't he live if Darth Maul lived? That's sort of all I'm getting at. And Palpatine on top of that, who was lightning down the fucking hole.
All over the place here.
I know.
Building.
I understand that story, but that's why I'm upset, because Star Wars is over the goddamn place. They're not consistent.
Focus, Ray. Focus. Talking about
focus.
J Bob says Star Wars is 6 movies. The rest is bad fan fiction. I'll say this. You're going to see in our list, we are doing the top 6 movies, which we all consider are, there's some issues with 1 and 2, but masterpieces. And you're going to see in our list, I don't know about stories. It's all to be determined. You'll see later. Rogue One needs to be in the discussion, because Rogue One is epic. So I consider Rogue One, it's why we're doing the 7 movies. Rogue One is episode 3.5, right? It's right in the middle of 3 and 4. Bridges that gap perfectly. The unknown about Darth Vader after Anakin, makes that transition. That's what I love about Rogue One. It's just different than all the other movies. And then we have Dakota saying, am I the only one that has no fucking clue what is being said by anyone? Dakota's not a Star Wars fan, but he's a very big fan of this channel, which I actually am I'm actually like happy that Dakota, that's what I love about Dakota. He loves us. He's watching something that he doesn't even know anything about. He doesn't like Star
Shout
Wars.
Out Dakota.
So we're doing something right, boys.
Watch Episode 1, Dakota. Like, dude, you're not seeing tonight.
Difficult to get through life and be of an age where you're watching a fantasy football stream and not be a Star Wars fan. Guys our age are generally at some point you were introduced to Star Wars.
You hate it or love it at this point, Story. You're right.
I think Dakota might be too cool. I think he's a really cool guy. Like, I'm not saying this like being, I think he's just like a really cool guy that's probably just like banging supermodels. So he doesn't have time to watch Star Wars. All I got to say is, Dakota, you're so cool. You can still bang these supermodels and have Star Wars on in the background, and they're not going to leave. Story, I got to get your take on this one, because we were talking about the Lucas, if he had it planned out, if he didn't. One argument for the positive that he did have this planned out is, I don't know if you guys know this about the merchandising. Lucas took a lot less money. They gave him an original offer. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but they gave him the original offer. He's like, actually sliced that in half, whatever he did. He's like, I want all the rights in the merchandising, which was like $1 billion decision. So he must have known something, Story, to make that decision. Or he was just in this ignorance is bliss kind of thing, where he's like, I hope it works. But like he like back in the day, like he took like $400,000 less, which back then in 1978, giant chunk of money to have the merchandising. This is kind of before merchandising really became a thing, right? Like we weren't merchandising stuff. The Star Wars was kind of the original in terms of selling the movie with lunch packs and like fucking action figures and shit like that, video games, which what it became. So you think this kind of helps the cause that he actually had this planned out, because he knew something, because a lot of people didn't think this was gonna be a big movie.
Yeah, I mentioned that previously, that he had an overarching concept of what he wanted this to be. And if you look at the way that he approached producers and the movie studios in order to get these financed and made, it makes very clear sense to me that he understood that this was a long-term play and that there were multiple movies coming down the pike.
Well, and real quick, just story, since you are a Trek, a Trek guy, I just feel as if that. And now, admittedly, I have not watched Star Trek as much as you have. I watched a lot of it. No, you want to say, but either way, I just feel as if this is more of a romantic, like basically a soap opera of space, of sci-fi compared to the Trek, which is more of, what it is, a sci-fi show.
Well, you mentioned it. So this is a space opera, right? And traditionally in opera, you've got some tragic elements related, and that this is woven throughout, and there's the hero's journey here, et cetera, et cetera. There's peaks and valleys and highs and lows, et cetera. Whereas Gene Roddenberry, the understanding with Star Trek from him was that was a hopeful franchise, and everything was pushing towards bettering humanity. So they are different. They're both the same genre. They're both sci-fi, but they're different in terms of the way that they approach putting that on screen.
Well, because especially like when you look at, whether or not you guys are religious or not, with Star Wars, with the Force, it's sort of looking at good versus evil, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying Star Trek isn't like that, because clearly the Trek guys are the good, and the Klingons and all them are the the non-good people. But I'm just saying in general, that's a little, to your point, it's a little more
the Kittimer
obvious.
So the Kittimer Accords were the peace talks between the Klingons and the Federation that happened after the praxis, after the moon praxis exploded and threw the Klingon Empire into turmoil. And I could keep going on about this if you want, but that's not what we're talking about.
No. But to be honest, like, it's the same difference of the Sith and the Republic and all that stuff. Like in facto, it is a parallel, which is why that's why those two those two franchises are always equal to one of another for many people. But that's why, I still say that there's, and admittedly, I don't understand as much as you do, but nonetheless, Star Wars, there's just something about it, man. There's that, especially with the prequels with Anakin, there's just something about that, man, that just really pulls you into your feels, to be honest. Because it's like, my immediate family is me, my mom, my grandma, and if I was Anakin and my mom was murdered when I was like 20 years old, I admittedly will not sit here and say I'd be better than him.
You're going to kill a bunch of people? I love it. Don't fuck with Ray's family. He will fucking kill you. Okay? That's documented now. Mouth has a great $20 hour here. Thank you, my dude.
Mouth. Love you, bro.
Also, don't fuck with me. I'm going to give you the deal. Lightsaber fights go like this. Prequels were educated. The originals less skilled. Sequels, no one knew how to fight. It makes sense why the lightsaber fights suck. Lightsaber fights suck. Story in the sequels. So it was much. The original, 4 through 6, the lightsaber fights are pretty boring, and then it almost appears they gave everyone like gymnastics lessons in 1 through 3 because they are just dancing and flying around, and I much prefer those. But like, I feel like the battles are just so much more meaningful in 4 through 6. But the Darth Maul episode 1 lightsaber battle is all-time epic. So we're going to get to all that in a second. But again, Mouth South, Downtown Sports. Boys, link in the description. 23 different platforms. Check them out on Apple Podcasts. Check them out on Spotify. Find them everywhere every single Tuesday night. They're having an episode drop here in a little bit. He's actually going to be on the show tomorrow night with Big Ray, talking some free agents. We love you, Mouth. Also, that's $20 holler. I owe a shot and a chug. We have Mouth saying Trek is less good versus evil and more space philosophy. Story, what do you have to say about that? Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate.
That sounds about right.
Again, good evil is a little reductive when it comes to Star Wars because there's a lot that going on. But yeah, it's about humanity, and Trek is about humanity striving for bettering itself, and the obstacles and the challenges that come along with that. While there's a lot of moral gray area. If you look at The Undiscovered Country, for example, Star Trek 6, there's a scene in which Spock does a forced mind meld with a lieutenant who's a conspirator. Spoiler alert for that 30-year-old movie. But it raises some moral ambiguity related to his character, and is it justified to violate one's rights in order to save millions? So there is definitely a lot of questions about what it means to be human and what it means to be good in the Star Trek universe.
So, Story, real quick, just since we're talking about this real quick, what did you feel about that last? Or first off, did you watch the Obi-Wan series?
I did not. No.
Have you seen the?
Me and Story are old school. We're not watching anything past episode 9. We didn't even like episode 9.
Bring off, Ben. Tell them how this has to do with what we're talking about. Please back me up. There's a reason I asked this, and these old
right, I got you.
Bring offs are telling us, I didn't watch it. Well, there's a reason you should have for at least the last episode. That's all I'll say, Ben. Back me up. The last episode, at least the last 2, whatever the fight between Vader and Obi-Wan. Back me up here.
Yep, 100%. I mean, in that one it does kind of bring it back to kind of like the original movie feels of the start of the lightsaber fight. So that's where, like I said, I do have those opinions on some of the shows where I'm like, these kind of do creep up there with me with the movies and some of the 7 through 9. I will say I am, as much as I do hate on them compared to the original movies, I did name my dog after Kylo Ren. So, I mean, I do have a little bit of love for those movies as well. But like you were saying, that last lightsaber fight between Kenobi and Darth Vader in that series, I mean, that kind of made that series feel like it was one of the movies again. And I know, Story, you brought up the point earlier about it kind of being like, you're not a fan of like the prolongedness of it, especially with the series. Like with the movies, it like you knew it was just a movie and like it has that storyline continuing. The series, it definitely, some of them do feel stretched out way too far. And especially like Rob, I know you said it earlier with Mandalorian specifically with that one, but like Kenobi did a good job of kind of bringing that to an end with those last 2 episodes and that big lightsaber fight.
All right, that $20 holler. I just did a beer and a shot. I have one more beer and a shot. Ray, you want to do one with me? This is for.
I'm pouring one up right now. I just want to say
thank you, Mouth, my guy. Every $20 holler is a chug.
Have you seen the Clone Wars animated series at all?
Nope.
No. We haven't watched any of this shit.
No, I understand. No, that's fine.
None of the TV stuff. None of the TV stuff.
No, and that's fine because I'm telling you what me and Ben are talking about. There was a animated ultimate, like it's one of the most ultimate for major. When I say this, major Star Wars fans that love everything of Star Wars, Clone Wars. There is a Darth Maul, and that just before Ben Kenobi that you saw in A New Hope. Maybe we'll say 5 to 10 years right before that, but he still had the white hair, white beard, animated, and he did all his. He ends up killing Darth Maul, and Darth Maul ended up living because he's about to have a fucking animated series here. But either way, it was just epic that you had something to show. Because basically the way that in the animated series Ben Kenobi kills Darth Maul is the same exact sequence that ended up killing Qui-Gon Jinn. He did the opposite to fucking like what Qui-Gon Jinn did. He did the opposite to then slice him in half and kill him.
Darth Maul is a bitch.
He looks awesome though. He looks really cool, and his dual lightsabers awesome.
He ain't no
J-Bob says prequels are the best Star Wars films. I don't care. Well, you're gonna see in our list in totality. I think we all disagree with that, but you're gonna see that Episode 3 has beyond a soft spot for us. 1 and 2 are a whole different ball.
We also got J-Bob, who we love to death, but he still will stick and die with his boy at quarterback as a top 5.
Yeah, the prequels to J-Bob is like Jalen Hurts. Let's be honest. Like they won, they made a lot of money. And we do love parts of the prequels, and also like they're much better than 7 through 9. So we gotta do this shot. We're getting to our list, boys. So I'm super excited about this. You guys don't know the list.
Pinky out there, boys.
Yep, I'll do mine in a second. We're going 1 through 6 with Rogue One, all chronological in terms of episode number 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 4, 5, 6. That's the order we're going in. We are gonna start with episode 1, boys. And here we go. So 7 is the least favorite. We're doing 7 movies here. We all have episode 1, 6, 6, 6, and then Mark of the Beast. And then Ben with number 7. Ben, why do you hate episode 1 so much, man?
Yes, Ben. Tell us.
To be honest, I really don't know if there is a specific reason. To be honest, I honestly like the other ones more than episode 1. That's kind of my reasoning. I found more reasons to like the other ones more. So episode 1 kind of just ended up being last on my list. I didn't really have that one. Didn't really do much for me at the time as a kid, and even rewatching it back, it doesn't do that much for me now.
Wow, you're killing me, bro. Ben, you just stabbed me in the heart to say it didn't do much for me as a kid, because I'm going to tell you right now, when I was 99, I was born January 9th of 91, so I was maybe 8-9 years old when this movie came out in the theaters. This was my OG feeling as a child watching a brand new Star Wars thing in the theaters. It was just like I was introduced to Star Wars way before and watched it many times in the 90s, the original trilogy, but when this came out, there was just something about it that just like explored to me the lure of what I felt like my parents and people who loved Star Wars that were kids, how they felt when they first watched A New Hope or whichever movie they were a kid at between Empire and Jedi Return. Like that's how I felt. Now, it wasn't the greatest movie, that's why I have it at 6, but I'm just saying that nostalgic look, like feeling, I don't know, this is unparalleled for me.
It's hard.
Story, what is your biggest gripe? Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
No, you're good. I was just gonna say I had like all the movies out by the time I was kind of like able to understand them. So like I knew I was going like 1 through 6. So it's kind of hard. I wasn't necessarily seeing them all in theaters either. Sorry for being too young for you guys.
Don't be sorry at all. I'm just letting you know, like
you're good.
I'm raying you, brother. Get ready.
I appreciate you.
Story. What's your biggest gripe with episode 1? Obviously, me, you, and Ray all have it at 6, so it's higher than number 2, or we'll see what the one we have lower than this is. But what's your biggest gripe with it?
Let me preface this by saying episodes 4, 5, and 6 all came out before I was old enough to appreciate them. But while they were the movies that I saw during my formative years and during my value programming years, so there might be some implicit bias there. I will say Phantom Menace could have been higher on my list. It does. You start to understand the character arc, especially behind Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn, one of the best characters in
ultimate
sci-fi film history. Darth Maul, one of the best villains in history, but it's boring. That's my biggest gripe. It just drags on. The stuff on Tatooine, while exciting to look at, doesn't advance the story beats at all. So it just grinds to a halt there on Tatooine. For me, again, like if they had tightened this up and added more to showing Anakin's abilities, I think, and showing him grow a little bit in that, I think it could have been a better film. It would have been higher on the list for me.
But dude, Story, I gotta gripe with that, bro. It's like he was a slave who was the ultimate pilot. I mean, like, I don't know, like that's.
Well, okay. Let me interrupt you right there, Ray, because you bring up a good point. That's another part of this movie glosses over the entire underlying structure, one of the themes that permeates episodes 1, 2, and 3 is the moral ambiguity as it relates to the Jedi Council versus what turns out to be the Galactic Empire. Right, the Galactic Empire, we think of this big bad evil, whereas the Jedi they're the good over here. But in reality, like, you got Qui-Gon Jinn on a planet where there's slaves, literal slaves, and he does nothing to alleviate that. So are you just replacing one dictator or dictatorial regime with another? And if they had leaned into that a little more and let us question some of the things that the Jedi Council were doing, I think it would have been a much better.
But here's the thing. Like, George Lucas does not like ever run away from the fact that there are political aspects of this whole thing, which, and admittedly, what you just threw down was a political aspect of the whole lore and the whole story of the Star Wars, main, 6 films. But the thing is also, though, Qui-Gon Jinn was more worried about the chosen one, the whole Force and all this. I understand. You're not wrong, Story. The way that we watch it, the way it was written, all that stuff. I mean, they do heavily lean into the whole slave thing. I mean, especially in the Clone Wars, when his mom was sold off as a slave, she was a wife, she was murdered. She was captured, murdered, like, and that's,
raped. Don't forget raped. She was raped.
Hey,
add that in there, man.
No, I'm saying the guy that bought her loved her. I mean, he married her. I mean, who's to say that he raped her over and over and over again?
No, I'm talking about the Sand People, man.
Oh, well, no.
They had their way. They had their way with Mrs. Skywalker. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Can we get that? Can we get that porn? Can we release that porn? Mrs. Skywalker just getting gangbanged by fucking 9 different sand people.
You'll just have.
Hey,
Ray
there's a market for that. There's a market for that, bro.
Yeah, well, you know what? That's fine if it's you're in that market. Ray with a Y will be in there in the fucking with my Jedi robe, and then he'll have Ben coming up here and be like, Jedi Ray, what will we do?
Mouth, I'm gonna get to your super in just a second. So I have this at 6 as well. I'm gonna give you the reasons why and the reasons why I don't like it. So I have it higher than I don't want to give you my number 7. You might get it really soon. Spoiler, but I love the story needs to be told, right? The Star Wars inherently is a Darth Vader story, right? It is an Anakin Skywalker story, and the origins is very, very, very important. The stuff with Anakin as a kid is so goddamn cheesy, and this is the start of them diving in to kind of get even though the movie isn't super violent, right? 4 through 6 isn't like a kid's movie. You guys
just want to be your old men. You guys were in middle school when I was a fucking elementary. So you know when I watched in elementary school, it made sense. You old men, you being in middle school, and story being in high school.
I was 10,
and
bro.
Not being born. Well, there you go. It doesn't matter.
No, I'm saying when I watch it back now, I just watched all of them. I didn't watch all of them. I kind of just glossed over them, and like when he gets the fucking fighter, and he's just like, oh, what do I do here? Oh, I press it. It's just so cheesy.
He presses all the great buttons and kills everything.
It's kind of funny, that kind of stuff, and then the political aspect. There's so much politics in this movie.
So much.
There's some cool scenes, but like why I have it higher than my number 7 on the list is the inherent importance of the journey of Anakin and like the young Anakin, right? To kind of tell his story. That's the only reason. Other than that, this is kind of a boring movie. The visuals are great. It was a different take on Star Wars. We only saw the 70s Star Wars, right? And to see, the planets and the world building was just so much better. And it only built on it in 2 and 3. So get to Mouse comment here. Disney versus the cartoons, right? That's why people didn't instantly vomit when Disney took over. Rebels with James Earl Jones as Vader. So, man, James Earl Jones as Vader. God damn it. I love James.
No, look at this. This is Laurence Olivier in Othello. Mm-hmm. And this is James Earl Jones. Now look at how close they look.
Look at that. James Earl Jones doing a great blackface.
James Earl Jones has a blackface. He's a black man.
He's not black.
Of course he's black.
He was Darth Vader.
Darth Vader was black?
No,
see, okay, there we go.
Darth Vader was not black. They took the mask off. He was white.
I would really want to know the actual specific number of times that they had to do that specific scene. There's no fucking way that those dudes did that scene under, boys. I'm going to throw a number 15 times. I'm sorry. No way they didn't
over
do that.
15. Over 15.
No. That's what I'm saying. There's no way. Like, and they improvised. So every time that it just came to a point where they could take whatever Danny DeVito decided to improvise words. I mean, what? No, he was.
Ben, last thoughts on episode 1 before we move on. You had it lowest on your list, so I'm going to give you. We all had it at 6. None of us are a big fan of this movie relative to the other greatness we have on this list. But is there anything that stood out for you, or it was missing?
I think story hit probably the nail on the head with it when he said it was boring, and that's kind of where I was getting at with it. Just didn't do much for me. Where I can just find so much more love in all the other 5 movies compared to this one, where obviously like this starts out the episode 1 and like obviously it kind of gives you that start of the newer movies, but to me I just like the other ones so much more, so this one kind of just fell to the bottom.
Paula has a question for us. This is for you two bottom gentlemen. Do you and your friends think Keanu Reeves would play a great Darth Revan? Is that something from the cartoon or something?
Yeah, so here's the thing is that I do think he could do great at that. That Star Wars just needs to actually just like Disney needs to be like legitimately like get into that.
They need to
Like they need to get everybody loved the video game Old Republic. Like that was a banger in the original Xbox and all that. Whoa.
I was gonna say I saw it on there.
Could you just skip over what I just was talking about? No, one more.
That was below. We didn't mention Jar Jar, guys. Jar Jar, obviously,
Jar Jar's
episode 2 is pretty prevalent, But no. But Jar Jar also kills. Like episode 1, between all the stuff with Anakin as a kid and Jar Jar, that's where like it loses me, bro.
I know. I want these other two's opinion. The fucking conspiracy theory of Star Wars that he was a Sith Lord that was playing dumb. Because I've looked into this shit, and there's apparently a quote Sith Lord fighting style where you just play dumb and you just fucking like he did.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if I believe that strictly because
how did he become a senator? How did he become a senator if he was so fucking dumb, huh?
I don't know. How you know there's 100 people in the Senate in the United States right now that don't deserve to be there. Freaking morons.
Hey, we're talking about
435 in the House of Representatives. Everybody in the White House. So yeah, you want to know how dumb people can advance the ranks in politics? You can look at the U.S. right now.
Yeah, story.
So story, I take it that story does not believe that Jar Jar was a Sith Lord. Ben, do you believe Jar Jar was a Sith Lord?
I don't believe that.
Oh my.
Real quick. How did that dude jump? Real quick, both of you.
Hold on. I was asking Ben, and then I want to get stories taken. We'll get to you, in a second. Let me host the show.
Jar Jar's
Ben,
a beast.
what do you think?
Jar Jar's a beast. I cannot taint my thought of Jar Jar by thinking of him as a Sith Lord. So I can't jump on that ship.
It doesn't taint your thought of him. Actually, it makes him higher in my mind because he's a fucking doofus. He's an idiot. He's the worst character. If he was a Sith Lord, I would think higher of Jar Jar because it makes sense. Why? Because all of his other clan are not dumb. Like he says a story in the beginning how he's like he was banished because he was such an idiot. And just it's so idiotic. It's comic relief, I guess. It's fine, but they really dive into it in this movie as well as episode 2.
Yeah.
Story. So he's not a Sith Lord. He's just a bad character, is what you're saying.
Well, I think there's more to Jar Jar Binks than what we see on screen. I do think that he's kind of bumbling on purpose, but no, I don't think he's a Sith Lord because also where's his master? Right? They come in pairs. So who's the master here? If he actually is a Sith Lord.
Good call. Good, because Darth Maul was alive. Ray, do you believe he is a Sith Lord, or do you think it's just kind of one of those conspiracies that Star Wars fans are just jerking off to because they have nothing better to do?
I think that he was more in line with the Force. No. Like, laugh at me if you want. I think
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Rob taking shots at the audience that we're trying to appeal to.
Well, no, I said it. So Rob
love Star Wars.
Taking a shot at me in a way because I said it from the get-go. But here's the thing. The only reason I have any thoughts of this being any semi-lore of being true with Jar Jar Binks. So just think back to episode 3 when Anakin went to Palpatine and Palpatine, and Clone Wars when it was Yoda and Palpatine had some crazy fucking spinning, absolute goddamn amazing acrobatics going on. That's a Sith Lord move. Well, I'm going to all say is that I saw the same goddamn move used by fucking Jar Jar. And I think it was the first episode 1. And I'm saying, like, I understand he's an underwater person, this and that. So you can go and you can admit, you can give me a good reasoning that I'm wrong. I'll admit to that. I'm just saying the exact, demographic video that they use or, the graphics that they used for Palpatine and Jar Jar were equal. And the fact that Jar Jar was supposedly such a jackass idiot who doesn't understand anything got to a high-end Senate position by episode 2. One episode. So what, 3-4 years? Became a high
Senate, man. The Senate's trash. We all know it's U.S. Senate's trash. Senates are trash. We didn't finish this question, though. I want you guys to answer this. In the Ray and Ben. Me and Story don't know what the hell this means. The Keanu Reeves Darth Revan question. So who is Darth? Like,
it's from a video game.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
It's from Old Republic.
Oh, Dark Raven. I'm playing Diablo 2. Dark Raven's in that. Now,
so what is the answer to this for Paula? Let's give her an answer.
No, you two give them the answer.
I'm going yes.
I'm going to video game from 2000.
Keanu Reeves can do anything.
I'm just admitting I'm talking about video game from 2000. So, like, there's no way this person's talking about that. A piece.
Whatever happened to Jar Jar? Did he get busy and have children? He was in the Senate, so he probably cheated on his wife a bunch because that's what politicians do. All right, moving on to Mouth. Palps from Naboo, so is Jar Jar. Jar Jar fooled you all. So Mouth is of the belief that Jar Jar is a Sith, and he was trying to say that, originally it was written in more that he was a Sith, but I think the audience wouldn't like it. It's kind of what he was saying, and that's kind of why they cooled on that.
That's another thing I've heard multiple, like literally 100%. When they introduced him in episode 1, the whole entire, not the whole, but the entirety of the crowd, like 80% plus, for a number just to use easy, or 75%, well, for 3/4 of the crowd thought that it was a dumb, horrible character. Don't ever bring him back. And then George Lucas was like, ah, shit. Like, I wanted to use this guy as like a dumb underlying, like, maybe not even a Sith, just an evil character that would lead to a Sith. Like maybe George Lucas originally, again, I'm pulling this out of my ass. I'm just saying that maybe George Lucas originally planned to have Jar Jar connect some way or another to, to Palpatine. I don't know. I'm just literally pulling it out of my ass.
Let's close the book on this discussion with this.
Never
attribute to malice, which can be adequately explained by stupidity.
There you go.
Hanlon's razor.
Moving on to episode 2, boys. Episode 2. So this is me, Story, and Ray's least favorite. Ben, you have this ahead. So we essentially all had 1 and 2 as our least favorite. And we're doing 1, 2, 3, Rogue One, 4, 5, and 6. If you're just tuning in. Ben, why do you love episode 2 so much?
I would not necessarily push it that far. But
you do.
I did like it a little bit better than episode 1. And my main reasoning is probably just because you get the storyline of Anakin being a little bit older. You get Padme in there. And then, you're seeing more Mace Windu. You get Count Dooku in there. Just kind of more of the story, more kind of involved deeper into it. So I think I kind of just gravitated more into that.
So we all have it, Story and Ray. We all have this as our least favorite. So, I guess I'll just say this. My reasoning is, as much as I hate the young Anakin stuff and some of the kid aspects, this movie is almost as boring. And I say almost, but it doesn't have. I think this is the worst Anakin, right? This is the worst Hayden Christensen. I know he gets a lot of flack in these movies. I'm a big fan of episode 3, Hayden Christensen. And this one is just the love story with Padme is probably the cringiest shit. As much as I love Natalie Portman, bro, I jerked off to Natalie Portman so goddamn much. I actually, I'm probably gonna jerk off to Padme. It's what I do, but that's just cringy. As cringy as me jerking off to Padme, their relationship is cringy, and that's why I have this as number 7. Story. What is it about this movie that is just like a tier below for you?
Yeah, so I think this is the only Star Wars movie that of the ones we're talking about that I actively dislike. It's a pretty bad film. There are a couple redeeming qualities. I do like Obi-Wan detective story a little bit, and I think they turn Padme into a pretty badass character in this, even though they really undo that in the next movie. But this is just a badly written, badly conceived film. This is written by George Lucas, and he didn't bring any professional writing help in, and it shows here. You've got criminally underdriven plots. Like, this is very plot driven, right? It feels like fetch quest after fetch quest. It feels like a video game where they're bouncing around, as opposed to what makes Star Wars great. It's character driven plot lines, uninspired locations. The CGI has aged extremely poorly on this one. It's feels like the opposite of what the original trilogy feels like. So it's, if they had brought in some additional writers to this, like all of the 4, 5, and 6 all had co-writers on their script, I think it would have been a lot better. Again, like, I have real problems with, so there are a couple of redeeming qualities, but in general, it's just a bad film.
Ray, you have it at 7. I mean, when we say bad, it's all relative, right? Like, it's better than 99% of other movies, but in the Star Wars universe, in the original trilogy, the second trilogy, it is the worst of the bunch in our mind.
So, I mean, I guess admittedly, this is why I'm going to side to, I mean, I know I had it my worst, but I'm going to side with Ben to why he liked it. Because you 2 old fucks. Yeah, go ahead and throw it up there. I don't give a shit. But you 2 old fucks, you 2 refused. You're too old. And admittedly, like, that is a point. Like, I'm going to 1,000,000% admit that was a point. Like, you guys were a little bit older, so you guys had a little more of a developed mind to understand film. I'm just going to sit here and agree with Ben. I understand. I still had it as my worst. I get that. But I enjoyed the film because here's a couple things. First off, Story, that's bullshit. That there was no like, dude, this had like more develop. I understand the corniness of the love aspect, and I can't disagree with you on that. But at the same time, this film introduced first off had the biggest Jedi presence ever. Like that's what like let's be real. This is why people watch Star Wars was for lightsaber fights. This was the biggest battle in the whole entire series from 1 through 9 for the Jedi. So I'm just saying for that aspect was highly entertaining. To your point, story to double down, the whole Jedi, I'm sorry, the Obi-Wan, whole spying aspect, Count Dooku, the whole like that's something I disagree with you. Stories that like it did lead us to understand the cockiness of Anakin, of him thinking that he's the shit. Hence, he went straight at Count Dooku. And Count Dooku, if you watch, I don't know if any of you guys, I'm assuming Ben did, but maybe Robin Story, you guys maybe didn't. But the animated Star Wars like hit lore, Ben, help me out here. Like I can't remember the name of the series, but it's basically like a historical animated
Clone
lore.
Wars? The Clone Wars?
No.
No.
This was
Yeah,
last
it's
year.
the comic series.
Okay.
Yeah. But either way, it showed, like, for instance, it showed Qui-Gon Jinn learning under Count Dooku. And, like, you understood that Count Dooku wasn't just a cynical piece of shit like Palpatine and Darth Vader. Not Anakin, but Darth Vader. And these people that were just Sith evil pieces of shit. He was in that gray zone that people who love and understand Star Wars, that's where he was at, which is where Anakin was at. And that's why this is like, I'm saying, like, once I understand that what I'm saying compared to what Clone Wars was out in 07, 06, 07, I think it was. And what I'm talking about came out last year. So we're talking to you. I'm saying, story to your point, like it's in your eyes, it's poor for storytelling. And I think Disney understood that. That's why they came out with this to like help it out more. But in reality, though, just the whole thing of introducing Count Dooku's his strength, Mace Windu's strength, Yoda, going against Count Dooku.
Right. Just so you know, you do have this as your least.
I know, but
film.
I'm saying like, we
love all these films. We love them. I know. I'm not saying you don't love them.
All these other movies are that much better.
I think this is a bad movie. I think it's a bad film. I think it's poorly written, poorly conceived. And it shows.
One thing I didn't mention, Story, that I do love, and I want to hear you guys take on this, is the when they try to assassinate Padme with those little worms, and the scene where that is actually probably one of my top 10 scenes in all Star Wars. The chase of that assassin through the air, and they go to the bar. Like, that is a badass scene. So there are some badass scenes. The ending scene, the gladiator kind of stuff's okay. I like the whole Jedi battle. There's some cool stuff for sure. The point is, all these movies are fucking elite.
No,
also,
but honestly, story.
And senates and
so much of that. That's what it loses me, man.
No, but to be honest, as much as I had it in my last movie, to back both of you guys up, they had to make an entire Ben, tell me if I'm wrong here, 4 or 5 season series about the Clone Wars to make up
at least
for the shittiness of the movie. So Story, I'm not disagreeing with you because, like I say, they had to make a whole series to make up for everything they didn't do well on it.
We got Crab Creations in here. That is my boy McCrusoff. What's going on, man? Shout out to you. He says the Darth Raider. So
Darth Raider.
The Darth Raider.
Outstanding.
It's time to move on to episode 3, and I know it seems like we haven't been as much positive on all these movies yet. Now we're about to have some cum guzzling going on here. I'm excited to guzzle some cum, and here we go. We have episode 3, a big surprise here. We have Story has it at 5. I have it at 1. Ben has it at 1. Ray has it as 1. This is our favorite Star Wars film.
Story
and
has
for me,
it at 5.
it's
Shocking.
close. It's close.
Shocking.
Fuck, I love this goddamn movie. All the things we didn't like about 1 and 2, this gets it right. The story is amazing. Anakin's fucking transformation is amazing. The fight scenes are amazing. Everything about this movie is perfect, and it just hits, dude. It's dark. It finally gets to that dark angle we've been looking for. Story, you have it at 5. Is this like a big gap, though, from 6 to 5? Is this close to the original trilogy for you, or is it
closer to 4? Number 4 on my list for me than it is to 5. Phantom Menace, I can take or leave. I actively dislike Attack of the Clones. This movie in and of itself, there's too many story elements that don't really have anything to do with the overarching plot. Like, you can take the whole General Grievous thing. He's a cool character, but he doesn't really add anything. I would have rather cut a good chunk of that and allow the character of Padme to go back to what she was in Attack of the Clones. Instead, she's this hapless, kind of meandering character, and they took away everything that was great for her. There's great stuff in this movie. I really, really like it, but I think there's much better stuff in the other 4 that I have on the list.
All right, Ben, we talked about this at work for many hours about how episode 3, and I know recently it's gained a lot of critical acclaim and, nostalgia, and people love it, but this is not a popular opinion in general, but it's become more as of recent. But everything about this movie is perfect in my mind, and this is the perfect example of this movie makes 4, 5, and 6 so much better, and this is the story, right? This is the Darth Vader. This is what makes Darth Vader, and the other ones are kind of like leaning into that a bit. You show the breaking point that you get a lot of good Palpatine stuff in this episode, and just it's dark. It has that Rogue One feel when the Jedi get killed off. Even the music, the tones. This hits on every check mark for me, and it does for you as well, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, episode 3 in my mind it's top tier. I still have not found a movie that I can rewatch as many times as episode 3 that I probably like and will ever say is my favorite movie above episode 3. I mean, it like you said, it hits everything. Getting to that dark side is kind of really where Star Wars became Star Wars. And like you said, I think this amplifies the whole series in itself. Like, it makes episodes 4 through 6 so much better because it gives you kind of more of that Darth Vader like story coming up and everything. And I mean, just the fight scenes in this, you could talk, people have their opinions on the killing the kids scene, but I mean, that's just Star Wars. It is what it is. That comes with the territory. But
all 3 acts are just unreal in this movie. And like, once he cuts off Count Dooku's head, like, that is the moment where this is the darkest. This is the darkest of the mainstream of 1 through 3 and 4 through 6, not counting Rogue One and some of the other stuff. Like, this is where that scene where it's just like he's you see the turmoil of Anakin where he's just like, I shouldn't. That's not the Jedi way. And the manipulation from Palpatine is so palpable. No pun intended. And it's so fucked up. Rob. And Ray, how dark does this movie go, and how much does this make, like, I was saying the other movies are necessary, right? Episode 1 super necessary to kind of build where Anakin came from. This movie makes 4, 5, and 6 better, and that's why I have it number 1, because yes, 4, 5, and 6 all masterpieces, but this makes those movies epic. And that they're not epic already, but like the change and just the story of Anakin, it just makes so much sense that Darth Vader is this kind of mysterious character, and it gives the backstory so much more substance, dude.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the thing that so I was born in 91, January 9th of 91. And so, of course, saw the original trilogy many times before Phantom Menace came out. But I'm telling everybody, like, I was 8 years old when that movie came out. That's why, like, as much as that movie made me amazingly great, it meant a lot to me, because that when I saw that in theaters, I'm telling you, like, as much as our parent age or grandparents' age, whoever, seeing A New Hope in the theaters for the first time, there's nothing like that. There's no way there wasn't, because that was something so far out of left field that you just never be able to understand that feeling, at least in that moment. Now, like when I was, I think it was 07 when the episode 3 came out. It was one of those things where, of course, like Rob, you said, like when the first movie came out, I was obsessed with Padme, like Natalie Portman. I was just like immediately like obsessed with her, like she was the love of my life, literally, like until like, high school. But more important, with this movie, it was one of those things though that just everything about it, like Hayden Christensen was in the second movie. I mean, story, like you were saying, it just didn't live up to what the first did. There were, it was a letdown. Now, man, when I was young, just the, like I said, the lightsaber, it was just like a young kid. It didn't matter as much. But when I was a junior, sophomore in high school when episode 3 came out, and it was just one of those things though, because that is such a more sophisticated, in-depth, emotional movie, especially because I don't have necessarily a big blood family, but my friend group that I consider like you guys, like are my family. It goes a long way to understand like somebody. I could never imagine betraying somebody like Anakin did to Obi-Wan, or what he feels as if that Obi-Wan did to him. I can never come across something like that in my mind. So when I watched that happening and just everything. And then now that I've gotten older and understand that those two had Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor had to slow down their lightsaber fights just to make it seem more realistic for the audience. And now that we saw the shit that we all saw in the third trilogy, that there was not even one good, maybe the best lightsaber scene was in episode 3 with fucking Kylo Ren and Rey against the red people, whatever the fuck you want to call them. That was still dog shit and horrible. Like, awful. It really was. That might have been the best one. That's what I'm saying with everything with this movie. And then
All right. Okay. So I think you guys have some rose-colored glasses on about this movie because of how bad Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones actually are, especially Attack of the Clones. Come on. You're talking about this movie like it's a Shawshank Redemption or Citizen Kane or something like that. There's so many bad things about this movie relative to the original 3 and even Rogue One. Come on. Like, the entire relationship between Anakin, Hayden Christensen, and Natalie Portman is wooden, robotic. There is zero chemistry there. They did nothing to develop that character. And all they turned Anakin into in this movie is a spoiled little brat pouting around the galaxy looking because he's in love, so he's got to turn to the dark side. They completely must understand what it means to be tempted by the dark side and why somebody would actually choose to actively betray their Jedi faith and turn to the dark side. Right?
I call bullshit on you, my friend. I call bullshit on you, Story.
No, there's no like tempted and then redemption.
Yeah.
Like,
you mean his mother getting murdered?
All it is just
that means nothing to him. Okay, dude. You know what? Story. Yeah, I'm saying like I'm
my opinion. He's entitled to his opinion. Story's entitled to his opinion,
and that's fine.
Also,
I
have the high ground. Really, no shit, Obi-Wan. You're standing up higher, and you have the moral high ground.
No, that's
well written,
and that's fair. I'll give you that. I'm saying Hayden Christensen turning evil for his mom being fucking murdered. I would do the same fucking thing. Sorry, that's just me. But my mom's the most important thing. I'm not saying for you guys are the same. I have a very small family. My mom is one of 3 people in my immediate family.
Why does he turn evil? Why does he ultimately turn evil?
Because he's a spoiled brat, but like
Padme is going to die and he wants to save her.
No. That's just where you're missing episode 3, my friend. This is where you're missing the main part. I'm sorry, Story. This is really where I hate to say, like, me being a spoiled brat, I guess, like, my immediate family is me, my mom, my grandma. I'm sorry, like, I'm literally being honest here. Like, I felt a connection in this movie because if my immediate family, again, me, my mom, my grandmother, and one of them was taken away from me by some assholes, I don't even want to. Rob, I could have won horribly saying horrible things there. I don't care though. It could be anybody who would do something like that. I would go fucking ape shit and murder all of them as well, and go to jail.
Let's not give Rey a lightsaber or a gun. I think we learned that.
No, but I'm just saying, if somebody did something,
we got to move on. We got to move on to Rogue
One.
Yeah. We have to move on to Rogue One, boys. And we have, I got to change the banner here. One of my favorites, man. I wanted to have this at 2, but I didn't want to disrespect the original trilogy. It's close for me. I have it 3. Story has it at 4. Ben at 2. Rey at 5. So, Ben, you got number 2, man. This is your second favorite Star Wars film. Why do you love this movie so much? You have it higher than anything from the original trilogy. This story might jump off a cliff.
This is my age coming out. All right, that's my one excuse. This is my age showing. I actually did really like Rogue One as a movie because I liked how it didn't like it fit perfectly between the two trilogies. Like it didn't try to force anything really at all about one or the other. It, like Rob said earlier, like it really did a good job of being like 3.5 basically. There's one scene specifically, it's a Darth Vader hallway scene that it is like one of the most darkest and like evilest you will ever see Darth Vader. That is probably right there my reasoning for putting it too.
Ultimate Darth Vader scene, Ben. Like that is like, it's a crazy thing. All the original and everything. No, that scene, bro. Cinematic.
There are
Vader
two
masterpiece.
There are two like cinematic Darth Vader masterpieces, and unfortunately for Robin's story, they do come at like the newer age stuff. It's that one in Rogue One, and then there's a scene in Ahsoka with him kind of Anakin Hayden Christensen as Anakin flashing between good and Darth Vader walking towards Ahsoka in a fight. Those are probably two of the best scenes I've ever seen in Star Wars. So if you two
haven't seen this, it's basically Ahsoka in live action. She has a flashback when she's training with Anakin, and he's telling her that she's not good enough, or not being aggressive enough, or whatever. And then like he like her in the Force flashback, she gets pushed onto a bridge, and he's stomping across it in his Episode 3 garb. But then it flashes, like lightning flashes Darth Vader. It's fucking, masterpiece, bro. Good call.
So, Story, you like this movie more than a lot of the original trilogy, actually all the original trilogy. So, is it the way it's shot? Is it the tones? Is it the modern CGI?
I think you had that backwards. I like it less than the entire original trilogy.
Sorry, that's what I meant. You like it more than more than the 1 through 3. I guess. Is what I'm saying.
So. This is one of the Disney movies. It's a dark and gritty Disney movie, and there's very little. There's a lot of great characters in here, right? Everybody decides to make sacrifices. There are morally ambiguous characters in here, which I love when a movie includes that. They all make the ultimate sacrifice at the end. Amazing set pieces, some fantastic action. The blind Jedi, not Jedi, right? I can't remember the actor's name. Donnie Yen, I think it is. Outstanding scene, but it's not a great Star Wars movie because there's not very much Star Wars in it. The good and evil is there to an extent, but the mysticism of the Force and the struggle that we see in the original 3 and then the prequel trilogy, that's really what keeps it from being in the tops there. So there's a big gap. Sith is close to this one, but there's a big gap between 4 and the start of the original trilogy for me. I mean, there's no Jedi. Very little Jedi. There's no Sith in here. There's really nothing that makes it a true Star Wars movie, in my opinion.
No Skywalker, timeline, if you will.
What this does, though, is it puts you on the ground level, right? And stuff that was going on that we just gloss over in all of the Star Wars movies, right? It's about the Jedi, and it's about the Sith, and it's about the Empire. It's not about the actual everyday
people. It introduces
people, right?
the Death Star, which is a huge thing for 4 through 6 original trilogy.
Right. So you get that in the most badass version of the Death Star. Let's not forget that. It actually, again, obviously in the original trilogy, like it blowing up a planet just looks awful, but at the time looked good. But just how it destroys the planet is something that's actually way more realistic and just devastating, right? But like it's the scene that really gets me is when the first news comes that the pilot has the information and he kills the fucking his ally because he doesn't want that information getting out. So it's a sacrifice. It shows the sacrifice that everyday people are doing to maintain to stop the Empire, right? And like this has not been touched on in any other movie, and it sucks. There's no Jedi except for the blind guy, which I have a little bit of problem with. I'm not a big fan. He's pretty cool, but like it's a little bit out there. He must be a Jedi,
he's
though,
cool,
right?
And you have a problem with him. What is it?
You
have a problem with him.
I have a problem with it. It's just not realistic unless he isn't officially a Jedi. But he must be a Jedi because how else can he do this?
So it's not realistic. A blind person have a more elevated
Well, the whole fucking premise is not realistic, like in any of these movies. But like,
I understand
he must be a Jedi, right? He must be a Jedi.
Dude, and he doesn't die.
You sound like Han Solo
and
in A
he's
New Hope.
spraying himself. Yeah, no, I get that. Trust me, I get that.
I just, dude, this movie is just so much different than every other Star Wars movie. It's so fucking bleak. It's so fucking dark. The beginning of the movie, epic. The end of the movie, super, super heart-tugging and just visceral, man. And like this movie probably makes me feel more than any other Star Wars movie. And I obviously know my thoughts on episode 3, and obviously 4 through 6 has a lot of that. But this is the ultimate. Like, it's just gritty, dude, and it's fucked. This movie is fucked. It's a fucked up film.
And honestly, like you said, it gives you like whatever, like when you see a war movie, for instance, it doesn't matter, any war movie. What to say World War II, since there's a million World War II movies. I'm just saying, we see what those soldiers and everybody's going through in that moment, or where they're attacking, where the war is, but we're not understanding the whole concept of everybody involved, aka the families throughout the whole world. Like, there wasn't a war on the ground in America, but I'm saying, like, those people. Honest, that's why I like that, though, because it gave you a perspective.
I'm not coming to Star Wars for boots on the ground, back alley stuff.
Like, no, but it was just different, though.
That's why I think it's not a great Star Wars movie. I think it's a great movie. I just don't think it's a great Star Wars movie.
No, and that's fair. That's fair.
I think that's also why it's always thought of as kind of one of the filler movies. Like, it doesn't necessarily fit as a full episode. That's why it's always talked about as like a 3.5 almost.
Sure.
Because it's kind of just giving you like the timeline fill-in between 3 and 4, basically.
But again, to Story's point, it doesn't give you any filler of what happened after episode 3 with the Skywalker's timeline.
It doesn't
just give you
the
timeline of what happened with the regular people, like all 4 of us would have been involved, instead of the billionaires that are the Skywalker timeline. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was just giving us the timeline of what we would be going through.
This movie also suffers from what the prequel trilogy does, which is tell or show don't tell, right? Great storytelling is show don't tell, and this one has a lot of dialogue that is specifically trying to move the plot forward, as do the prequel trilogies. Like, do we really need to know the specifics of the shield generator and the plans and how to train? Like,
sure,
there's the problem. We got to overcome it, right? And then get to the action.
Well, I feel like, didn't they not originally in the first like trilogy explain that like there was a very easy fucked up? I mean, no, I know Family Guy made a big point on it, but in general, like in the movie, they said it's like, yeah, they have this little spot that they're like, oh, we'll never do it in the Empire, and then Luke's like, no, like we can do it, like, and then I don't know, I'm with you. There's
a moment you're talking about the show don't tell, right? And the tell. There's a moment in episode 1 that I was just watching a couple hours ago that made me laugh my ass off when Anakin blows up that fucking the base and
that middle base and ring base thing, yeah.
And one of the chicks or one of the guys that's flying the plane is like, we didn't do that. It's blowing up from the inside. It's like, dude, that's like the Porkins stuff from episode, from A New Hope is funny because it's like Porkins is fucking a joke. But like that is such bad exposition. It's like it's not even worth mentioning, but it's just hilarious.
It's like,
all right, I gotta move on. The last thing I gotta say about this movie, though, that makes it high for me, right? Obviously, I have it at 3. Is that whenever I fire up A New Hope, which is very, very high on my list and I love, I can put on the last. I actually prefer it this way. I'll put on the last 25 minutes or so of Rogue One, and it goes up until the last seconds before episode 4 starts, A New Hope. And there's something romantic about that for me. And it's just such a, like, the scene with Vader on the bridge, like, all that stuff is just so epic. That is the most badass Vader has ever been. They use him so sparingly. He's like the shark from Jaws in this movie, right? You don't see him very much. When they bust him out, even the scene where, he's in his cryogenic chamber, like, super awesome. And, like, this is the best use of Vader. I wish they had more. We all wish there was more Vader in this movie. But less is more. Shark from Jaws. And the last 25 minutes, being able to play that up until A New Hope, just really ties a bow on this.
The uncanny valley of the de-aging of Carrie Fisher, right? And her weird face there.
That's so bad, bro. That is so bad.
I was just raising my hand to ask, have you actually ever done that for any movie in general? You know how they say, like, oh, play a TV show, play a movie at this specific time before New Year's Eve, and you'll hit the time whatever it is for movie or TV show.
It's
Hit
Forrest
that
Gump.
scene. So you've done that before.
Yeah, with Forrest Gump. Yeah, you started at I think it's at the beginning. You started at like
So whenever
10:40
Forrest
and it gets
Gump
right to the-
Happy New Year's, you were watching
Yeah.
it and it hit Happy New
Yeah.
Year. Okay, I don't know. I assume you had at least one.
The nice thing is I don't have those two trashy whores next to me that they have in the movie because those bitches are fucking terrible, dude.
Hey,
making fun of a cripple, making fun of fucking Forrest Gump for being retarded. You know what? Those whores need to burn in hell. If I had a lightsaber, I'd chop their fucking heads off.
Rob, I
There's
want to
a
understand
lot of disability like not phobia, but like people hating on disabled people back in the 70s.
Yeah, it was a thing.
Story and Ben, real quick. Ben, first off, have you seen Forrest Gump?
I have.
Okay.
Don't worry about that one.
Okay, just making sure. So, Story and Ben. Jenny is one of the ultimate villains of all movies, correct?
I mean, I don't consider her a villain. Like, she's a bad person, but she's not really a villain per se.
All right, we can't get into this. We've already.
I know.
She is a villain.
Star Wars, I know.
Sorry, Story. She is a villain.
No.
We owe a chug for GT Ray if you want to fire one up for us. We got to get to the trilogy, right? Story. This is the trilogy. I know you're an old school guy, and this is now porn for Story. I'm excited to hear his takes. He's got a little fired up in the show. I'm ready to see the love come out of Story. It's just going to be like, in the old cartoons when you have the heart beating out of the chest.
This
is Story for this.
Oh my god, I got a Megal problem. I got to get going.
Here we go. New Hope, the original, episode 4. I got it at 2. Story's got it at 1. Ben has it at 4. Ray has it at 3. Story, profess your love for this film, what it means, what it meant to you, and is it just based on the fact that it started it all, or is it the best movie to you?
I think more so the latter, in that it did launch something absolutely incredible that so many people have gotten so much joy on. But this is the ultimate hero's journey story. It's a Western set in space. It's got great space battles. It's got that ending that has been emulated in many, many movies over and over again. It works. It's got everything that you want. A loner becomes a hero. It's got the wise old mentor. It's got a menacing villain. It's got a princess who needs saving, but turns out she doesn't actually need saving because she's kind of a badass all on her own. It launched something incredible by doing something very simple, very straightforward, but did it on film that nobody had ever seen before. And for me, yeah, there's great moments in Empire, and I understand that is most people's, not most, but there's a good chunk of people that really think that's the best. And there's great stuff in Return of the Jedi. But when it comes to, like, if I got to pick one of these three to throw it on the DVR.
VHS, baby. Come on now. Come on, Lee.
I'm gonna look at this and be like, yeah, I've seen Return. Empire is great. There's great stuff, but I'm gonna get this contained story like Ray said, A New Hope, and I'm gonna put this on and I'm gonna enjoy myself for 2 fantastic hours.
It is the only movie that is a standalone in all Star Wars, and it can be watched and nobody can be confused.
So Ben, you have this at 4. I just want to hear your take of why it's lower than some of the others. This is the original. It is a classic. It's a little slower than Empire and Jedi. Is that why it's at 4 for you?
No, there's not a single point that you guys can say that I can rebuttal or can disagree with, because I truly can't. I will, when we talk about Empire Strikes Back, there's one point that I have that above New Hope for me. But I mean, like you said, it started it all off. It's the only one that really could be its own movie. For me, Rogue One was just too much higher than the original trilogy, and these all kind of need to fall into place somewhere. So.
Yeah, and again, let's just preface it where there is really, maybe there's a right answer. Most people say it is Empire is number 1. So there is no. This is opinions, right? Let's preface it. This is opinions. These are our personal favorites, or you want to say best. But again, art is subjective, and I just want to, for everyone, for the fights we have, and we fight because we love each other, and this is our opinions of what means the most to us and what we want to rewatch. Right, well, Ray, you might have what meant.
I say that A New Hope is my favorite of the movies, but Empire is probably the most well made of the movies. Is that okay?
I don't disagree with you at all, Story. I just love the fact that we have, technically speaking, if it was just me, Story, and Rob, the 3 of us are just enough years apart to where these movies that we're talking about, the 1 through 6, were released, we would have different opinions, and then we have Ben who wasn't even alive when Phantom Menace was released, that's a great also aspect because then we have his opinion on what like the movies that us three grew up on to love Star Wars originally. He had the luxury of having the prequels, at least the first. I don't know what year were you born. At least the first 4. Yeah, so at least you at least had the first 3, the original 3 with Phantom Menace.
And we're all Star Wars fans, right? So it's not like any of us are haters. We can hate on a certain movie or like have different, certain things we nitpick, right? Where some of us are putting our what's more important on a higher level and what we hate on a lower level. But like the point is, we love these fucking movies, and even a bad Star Wars movie is so much better than 99% of the other shit out there. Ray, New Hope, man. I know again, all of us are way too young. None of us were alive when this movie was conceived, released, any of the original trilogy. But what is it about this movie that got you hooked? So this is the first movie I saw personally. You have it at 3, still pretty high. Story's highest at 1. I have it at 2. I just personally love. There's some slow parts in this movie. I think this is the best Han. Right, the introduction to Han, probably one of the coolest characters that's ever graced the screen in Hollywood.
Dude,
and also
it got him fucking Indiana Jones. I don't care if anyone wants to say maybe it was the second movie. There's no way. I mean, the dude was a fucking he was a stuntman or like a stage builder, right? And then they like found him there and went from there. I mean, so here's the whole thing with this movie though, is that again, like I said before, it's the only movie in the whole Star Wars lore, especially in the Skywalker lore, which is more important to understand, that can only be its only movie. Like you could watch the movie from the beginning and watch it to the end, and the movie ends, and you're like, okay, good guys won. They got their medals. That's that. It ends. But here's the thing: is that Rob, I'm with you. That was the first Star Wars movie I ever watched because a story I had those. My mom had those VHSs, so the first one I watched.
Hold on 1 second, Ray. Jake says Empire to me is number 1. You guys all voted Episode 1. We all hated Episode 1. It's in order. So we had 7, 7, 7, 6 for Episode 1. So we did not like it. The ones we liked was Episode 3. The 3 young guns here loved Episode 3. Sorry to interrupt you, Ray, but I just wanted to clarify that for Jake.
That's a clarifying good thing. No, but in either way, though, it's just one of those things that the history of it, listening to like family members and friends, that were older than me that explained to me how they first went to see this movie in the theaters and the feelings they had. And then when I first watched it as a kid and being obsessed with it, and again, just the whole thing. I mean, again, it is weird as it got more forwarded that, Luke and Leia doing their thing, but at the same time, that's not that big of a deal in the long scheme of things because it was so out of left field. This whole movie, everything about it, it's just an epic film, no matter what. I mean, there's just everything about it. Even honestly, even like the way that they try to do their CGI for, our days, what we call it. There was no
it was so original.
Shit.
There's that scene.
Exactly.
There's a scene where they're walking across the bridge there, and that was actually like a tapestry, like a created, like wasn't CGI. They like made the art for that, and somehow
nothing was CGI in that. That's how amazing that film
looks
was.
CGI though. It's so crazy. And one last thought about Han Solo. He is like the one actor in all this trilogy, but like he is a normal person where like everyone else is kind of like acting like their part. Where like there's a scene where he's he blasts he's having the conversation. He's like, everything's cool here. We're good. How are you? And like,
also, it's the funniest of all of the Star Wars movies by far.
Yeah, and the banter between Leia and Han, and then also with Luke, because Luke's the only downside I will say that I hear a lot of people talk about that I kind of agree with is Luke is so bratty. I know we bitched about Hayden Christensen and Anakin being just very pouty, right, and being like that teenage angst, which is pretty viable. Luke is such a little bitch in this movie, and this is why the original trilogy 4, 5, and 6 is so epic, because the arc that Luke takes is because Luke is a teenager. Let's not forget he's a teenager. He's trapped on Tatooine. The quote he has where he's like, "I was gonna get those power converters." Like, he's just such a little whiny bitch in this movie.
Get my power converters, Uncle Ben.
And he's so curious, right? And like, it's funny that him and Leia are twins, right? And Leia has lived much more life than Luke, right? Like, Leia is the strong one. She is the wise one. And Luke is just this little bratty teenager that's just like annoying. And I'm just like, who the fuck is this kid?
Now, real quick, dude, I'm going to be real with you. You're talking about a farmer to a goddamn princess. Go fuck yourself.
But she's a badass princess, dude. Ben, how badass is Leia? She's a fucking badass princess. I'm not disagreeing with
that, but I'm saying you're talking about a farmer to a princess. Now, mind you, that it makes Luke a much more of a bitch. That he's that brattier of a farmer compared to a princess.
So. It's okay. Ben, we're all okay here. How are you?
Hey, Ben.
Yeah, we're okay. We're okay. Fuck this thing.
No,
what do you guys think? Ben, what do you think of Mark Hamill, dude? So Mark Hamill.
Oh, shut up, Mark Hamill.
The best thing about this 4, 5, and 6 is that like Mark Hamill really got caught up in the fame, and he had a lot of personal struggles with the fame, right? And he had also an issue of being typecast, which kind of affected his career. Now he's a pretty beloved character actor, but Mark Hamill was, he got caught up in some shit. And do you like him as an actor, or like, do you think that he was? I always put it like this. Mark Hamill in this movie, the movie was so perfect. The script was so perfect. The cast, besides Mark Hamill, was so perfect. He was brought in. He was like a system quarterback in this movie, and he was just like, we don't need anyone big for Luke. We're just gonna get this dude who's a random dude, almost like Edward Furlong in Terminator 2. Just some dude. We have Arnold. We don't care. Just be a bratty teenager. And that's kind of who he is. It's kind of who he became, except for now he's a character actor. But, like, what do you think about Mark Hamill's performance in this movie? Compare it to Hayden Christensen in the original trilogy, because you're a big fan of those.
I mean, honestly, you kind of have touched on it when we've talked about both trilogies, is they're both bratty. I mean, you can see where they kind of got that part of Anakin and Hayden Christensen from Luke in this movie because of how he was. So now you're just kind of relating father to kid, essentially. You kind of just get that in the storyline. I mean, I've always kind of stood on the hill that he wasn't really much without Star Wars. Star Wars kind of made him, and even after the 3 movies, it's not like he was in anything really noticeable or well known. So I mean, that's kind of my opinion on the dude.
He just he got kind of typecast into this.
Whoa,
thing,
both of you, come on! Whoa, dude, both of you, are you guys both fucking kidding me? He's like, for a certain group of people, he's just as famous for being Luke Skywalker as being Joker. He is the animated Joker.
Yeah, it just kind of sucks for him that Han became everything he became because of the Han character, right? Like, that is kind of the problem, that he didn't go on to anything. He didn't have his elite franchise after this. He was just fucking Mark Hamill.
Animated Batman series? Are you fucking kidding me? Again, I will admit that's not as big as,
if you think Mark Hamill had a good career based on being Luke, you're crazy. Story. How disappointing was Mark Hamill's career?
What did I just say?
Post Star Wars.
Yeah, a bit of a character actor outside of the Star Wars trilogy, and then two and a 1/8 movies, not even. But his Joker, I would argue, is the second best Joker in cinematic history. Like, he really captures what that character means to me on the page and puts it on screen. Outside of that, though, I mean, what much has he done? He's been like bit roles here and there. He was in the second Kingsman movie. I can't even think of other stuff that he's really done. So I don't want to be
Silent Bob Strike Back. He's the ball knocker or whatever they call him.
Yeah, again, I don't want to besmirch or disparage his career, but outside of the Star Wars movies, I'm not, and the animated series and the other stuff that he's done with the Joker, I'm not really thrilled with his career.
Okay. So all 3 of you are going to sit here and say, okay, he didn't have great of a career. He was just a mainstay in 2 major fucking series. Okay.
I said compared to Harrison Ford, he had a shell of a career. Harrison Ford is one of the biggest actors of all time, and Mark Hamill is just a guy. People don't even know Mark Hamill. Like, they don't really know him. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you don't know who Mark Hamill is. Everyone knows who Harrison Ford is.
There are plenty of people out there that are obsessed with DC comics who hate Star Wars.
Well,
what do you mean? Well, like,
but you're going to compare that to Harrison Ford?
We're talking
Ford's
$1 billion company here. Are you really going to say to me I'm wrong?
I think both things can be true in that Mark Hamill was a mainstay in 2 trilogies.
He's a fantasy comic book person. He's nothing outside of that. Harrison Ford is.
But
Harrison Ford's had plenty outside.
And also, Harrison Ford's career as an actor would surpass
by a mile. And I will agree with that. But I'm just saying, you guys are sitting there saying that Mark Hamill's nothing outside of Star Wars is a jackassery thing to say because it's not true.
But technically, like, Luke's character is more important.
Millions and millions. I mean, what are you telling me?
No, but like Luke is actually the main character of Star Wars. Han is a side character. I know he's one of the best of all time. He steals the show because it's Harrison Ford. But if you swap their roles, right? Like Luke is a much more important character. He's Luke Skywalker. Han Solo, yes, I get he had a side movie. Han Solo is Han Solo because of Harrison Ford. Luke Skywalker is not Luke Skywalker because of Mark.
Okay.
That is, I guess, all I'm saying.
Okay. How about that trench run? Probably the best in cinematic history, right? Probably the best dogfight in all of cinematic history.
I got some issues with the shot, but
again, I'm going to sit here and say that there are many people that love, when I say this, just in general, comic book, fantasy, whatever you want to call it, outside of fiction. Mark Hamill is by far, like, there are people that will die, many that will die, that Mark Hamill is the greatest Joker of all time. It's not even close. Same as the guy, Kevin Conroy, that died that played Joker, or I'm saying Batman. Yeah. Same difference. I'm saying, I'm not taking away from what they did. You guys are, the way you guys are talking, you're taking away from that, and I don't.
I mean, not only is it so epic that they basically did it beat for beat in Top Gun Maverick, but how many times have we seen that shot over and over again? Ben, what do you think? Greatest in all movie history?
Yeah, I do kind of agree with you on that one.
All right, you guys ready for the final 2 here? We got episode 5, episode 6. So, most people's favorite is Empire Strikes Back. We actually, none of us have it at number 1 on our list. That might be kind of a hot take, but Story has it at 2. I have it at 5. I know that's going to probably have some blowback here. Ben at 3, Ray at 2. So, Story and Ray at 2. Story, am I insane for having this at 5? And I want to get your take on why you love it. Ray, you're after that. And then Ben, you love it as well.
I don't want to be the one to tell somebody that they're wrong because everybody's entitled to their opinion. But in this case, you're wrong. Even though it's your opinion, and you can have your opinion, but you're wrong. But it's your opinion, but you're wrong. Come on. 5. You're putting this movie down at 5. It's like I said,
Rob, what the hell?
Well made of all Star Wars media that's ever been put on film. The only thing that keeps it from being number 1 for me is there's some pacing issues in here a little bit, but in terms of like character developing, world building, progression for Luke's character into a Jedi, showing how he's like his father by jumping the gun, thinking he's stronger than he is, it sets up perfectly into Return of the Jedi. Like, yeah, I think you're insane for having this all the way down to 5.
I don't like all the fucking Yoda, like the Dagobah stuff, dude. That can go fuck itself. I just think it's boring. I think it's too long. I think there's a lot of issues with, like, what is it? It's fine. And the ending, I know it has the epic
Rob, please
reveal.
Explain to me how we understand how Luke really is without the whole Yoda part. Please give me your lore. How that Luke becomes this epic of a... No, you said Now give me your
It's counterintuitive to what I said about I love the Anakin in episode 3. I love that arc. So I should love this arc. This arc is nowhere near as impactful to me. And I love the reveal of, I am your father. That's awesome. I like the cliffhanger ending.
Spoiler alert.
Okay, I don't think I need to worry about that. I like that kind of stuff. I think the beginning stuff on Hoth is fine. It's fine. I don't think it's groundbreaking. I much prefer the Jabba the Hutt thing in Return of the Jedi. I much prefer that intro. That's why I have that higher. Number 4, I have higher. New Hope I have higher because it was the original, and I have a really big soft spot. Rogue One is just so well done and epic. And then Episode 3 is my favorite, so like that's why it's number 5. They're all really close. Like for me, the top 5, I could interchange all of these films. And I know episode 5 is like, dude, it's the favorite. It's the fan favorite. I understand Rob, why it is.
Rob, you just pulled the biggest turnaround. You didn't answer my question. How is it that this movie is dog shit without? Because I told you, or my question was, how is it dog shit when this is the main understanding of Luke's everything? The whole thing when he goes to see Yoda. Because I'm talking about the Yoda thing. Yoda literally like runs him through his life. So explain to me why you think that's a dog shit storyline. Because if we didn't know that, how the fuck are we supposed to know anything except the whole "I am your father" bullshit? Like, come on. That gave him more.
I just think it's kind of boring to me. Real quick, hold on. GT says, "Dipshit you are." Story to Rob. Love that quote. That's a Yoda quote. Love that. Jake says, "I think this one built the most story." Nobody agrees with me. This does build a lot of story. That is my biggest problem. Is that with the original trilogy, I don't want story. Because I want story in the other ones that are building up 4 through 6.
I don't want story.
Yeah.
And 8, let me just preface, dude. Number 5 for me seems low. It does seem low. I'm trying to say that 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1 are so close. Where like episode 1 and 2, which are 6 and 7 for me, are so far off this rating system for me that like I do like, dude. I love 5. I just think I like 6 better. I like 4 better. Rogue One was such a dark tale that is just a separate almost from the Star Wars universe, but we're talking about it because it does have it in the title. And then episode 3 for me is just is my favorite. So again, this is my personal list. Ben, I gotta get your take on Empire. Am I that crazy and far off? Because you have it at 3, I have it at 5. You're second lowest, even though you still have it really high. Again, every other fan's gonna have this way higher than me. Maybe I'm crazy, maybe I'm stupid. I can take the heat. What do you think?
This is technically top of my list as the original trilogy, and there's a forward line. The "I am your father" line is specifically why. I mean, it's a cinematic masterpiece right there. But I mean, this movie in general for the original trilogies. I mean, the Hoth battle. I think in general this one is probably the darkest out of the 3 original trilogies. I mean, you get basically the Sith winning it. Luke loses in the end. So, I mean, in theory, it kind of fits along the lines of the episode 3, the Rogue Ones, where it's the darker. So for me, that just kind of topped the list of the original 3.
So, Story, was that quote right? Where it's "dipshit you are"? Story to Rob. I'm a dipshit, right? Yeah, I can take it. If you think I'm a dipshit, it's the most well done. I'm not denying that.
I don't want to say that your opinion is invalid, but again, you're wrong. But it's your opinion, but you're wrong here. Like, you cannot. Like, you can't have Empire Strikes Back down at 5. Like, if there's a movie that you wanted to show somebody in the Star Wars canon to get them hyped, it's got to be Empire Strikes Back. Again, even though New Hope's higher on my list, like I'm gonna show them Empire because that's where everything comes together. The story beats of Vader, the big reveal at the end, leaving on a cliffhanger. All the stuff in Cloud City is outstanding. I don't know what you're talking about with the Yoda stuff. That is true character development.
Story. You want to talk about your main man Han, bro? Han was the fucking man, bro, to come fucking find Luke in the fucking middle of the fucking terrible blizzard.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you get the romance between Leia and Han really sparking up here.
If it's in the original trilogy, Han is the only third person behind, or no, fourth person, right? Obi-Wan, Vader, Luke, then Han, right? Han cuts open the fucking whatever the hell you call that beast that he stuffs him himself, Luke in.
The Tauntaun.
But sorry, right? That's 4 people in the original trilogy that only wielded lightsabers, right?
I couldn't tell you without going through it.
Ben, do you understand what I'm dealing with here? This guy understood the name of the fucking beast that he cut open, and I'm 99% sure I'm right about what I'm saying here.
I'm not
and he doesn't know that fact.
I'm not going to say I know it if I don't actually know it. I do know it's called Tauntaun, though.
Nick, that story.
Can you kind of decipher this comment from Mouth for me? Because I'm pretty drunk.
His grandfather.
I don't want to decipher
this. Horse tails ends up being the most powerful being in the universe. Lame. I mean, did Kermit the what was Jim Henson's Muppet Creation Shop? Did they also create Yoda the puppet? That might have something to do with it. I don't know. Mouth, you're gonna have to explain because
no. I think I
do love Yoda. I'm not saying I don't like Yoda. I like Episode 3 Yoda, badass, epic. I know he's younger. The whole Yoda thing, the whole. I don't like that whole stretch of the movie. That's just me, and I could have my opinion. I just think it's boring, and that's the reason I don't like 1 and 2.
Important to the story. If you didn't understand that part, literally, like Luke going into like facing Vader and that whole fucking thing, like. How is that not important to the lore of the original trilogy? I mean,
it's possible you didn't understand it. Did you understand that at the end that Vader actually is his father? Did that? I mean, maybe you didn't
I got all of it. I didn't do this for a hot take or argument either. This is my actual like. If I'm gonna go back and watch these films, this is the 5th most likely rewatch. This is my 5th favorite. It doesn't. It's still so much closer to 4 than it is 6. It's closer to 1. This movie is closer to 1 for me than it is 5 than it is 6. I'm just saying, like this is closer. This is closer to what did I have it for? Number 4 would have been actually the next film we're gonna have episode 6. It's closer to episode 6 than it is episode 1 or 2 for me. That is where I'm at.
You want an explanation real quick of what Mouth was talking about? It says AI overview, as I typed in majority of what he said. It says Yoda from Star Wars is often jokingly referred to as being related to Kermit the Frog due to their similar appearance, with the creator George Lucas even teasing that Yoda is, quote, the lion or the illegitimate child of Kermit the Frog and Miss Piggy, unquote. Yoda has 3 fingers and shares a green swamp dwelling puppet originated aesthetic with Kermit. Again, that's Google AI overview, but there's probably some sort of truth to that. I'm not to say I agree, but
all right, we gotta get to episode 6. One last thought story on episode 5, just to really nail it in my coffin, bro. What is it that makes this movie the best? I know you said it's shot the best, it's the best story, it's the best made. Is there anything else that just really tips the scales for you for this movie? Episode 5?
I mean, I think I covered it. Other than maybe the world building that it leaves you with as it moves into Return of the Jedi. Again, my favorite of these is A New Hope, but I can appreciate the technical considerations that went into making Empire as good of a movie as it is. There's a reason it's number 1 for a lot of people's lists. Number 5 is insane. I'm literally like, my heart is just it's not working.
It's hurting.
It's hurting.
You had episode 3 at number 5, so I had the same sentiment. What do you got, Ray?
All I'll say is that the first movie, again, I do believe that George Lucas had his own like 9 movie idea out in the for himself, but he wrote that first movie and shot the first movie to be its own thing because he wasn't sure how people would react to it. Clearly, it killed it, and there's a whole fucking multiverse of everything. Not multiverse, but there's a whole universe of everything with this now. I'm just getting at that with, like I'm saying, with what Story was saying, it's just one of these things that with this whole thing of Star Wars, I just really think that since it was so outside of the box, I know there was sci-fi before it came out, but like for them to be able to kill it with the first movie with limited money, because then you can just tell, like, especially now with everything that's CGI and that we can tell with graphics, that second movie it's almost the same difference of Terminator and Terminator 2. If any of you guys watch that, like,
I don't think so. I don't think.
Well, I'm saying budget wise. No, I'm talking budget wise. That's all I'm talking about.
Oh, right. Yeah. It's definitely better shot.
No.
I had one more comment to make here. I'm pretty sure we're gonna probably at one point in the next couple of years, whatever it is, we're gonna go through and do these movies individually. I'm guessing I won't be on the Empire Strikes Back movie deep dive. I'm pretty confident on that one.
Really don't
so,
like
Story, you're gonna have to host this one. No, I love it. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's just, I do love it. I love this movie.
If you were on that stream,
it's just my 5th favorite. It's my 5th favorite. That's it. Yeah. He does. I don't hate this like Story hates coaches.
Hey, that's why I live in America.
All right, Return of the Jedi. Return of the Jedi, boys. I have it at 4. Story has it at 3. Ben has it at 5. Ray has it at 4. Kind of lockstep here. This is a little surprising because these are all pretty low rankings. Ben, least favorite, number 5. Why do you hate this movie so much? You hate this movie more than I hate.
I just hate it.
Well, you have it pretty low. So you have it as low as I have Empire, I guess.
But kind of like how you said with Empire, like Empire is closer at being 5. It's closer to 1 than it is to 6. For me, Return of the Jedi is close at, even though it's at 5, it's closer to being like a 2 or 3 than it is to ever being a 6 for me. Like this and the original trilogies just outweigh the first episode 1 and 2 by so much. It just had to fall into its place on the list. I like New Hope and Empire Strikes Back better than Return of the Jedi. I do think it is a very good ending of the original trilogy. You can tell it's with each one, production has gone up. Obviously, money was better. Technology got better for the movies, but for me, it just ended up falling to the last of the original trilogy.
But why?
I'm so pissed. I'm so pissed. Dude, I'm so pissed. God damn it, Ben.
Why did it fall short though? Because I'm with Rob. I'm pissed too. Like, what is? Like,
I'm not pissed.
Nothing. I just like the other two better.
But why? You can just tell me just cuz. Come on, bro. You gotta get a little. Just give me one thing. One thing.
I have no specific reason. I mean, if there was one in this, it probably would be the damn Ewoks. Those things just kill me every time.
You gave me a reason. That's fine.
That's a reason. I mean, there's a reason that this is 3 for me and not up higher. The other 2 are better, but like it starts slow. That they spend too much time at Jabba's palace. The whole Rancor thing is unnecessary. Like the whole plan didn't make sense. So you got that, and then the ending, like you got a bunch of fuzzy little creatures running around beating what's supposed to be the Empire's best. It really kind of takes the whole darkness that Empire built up down a notch. And so there are some things. It's got some great scenes. Don't get me wrong. The battle on the moon, the Forest Moon of Endor, is really good if you were to take out some of the Ewok stuff, because it's just so campy at that point. But everything in between is really good. The throne room is what keeps it at 3 for me. The throne room scene, one of the best scenes in all cinematic history, in my opinion.
No, I mean,
that is an epic backdrop too.
No,
just the visual of that.
Yeah, like though. I mean, to be honest, I guess again, honestly, like this is so clearly obvious. Like you two above me and Ben were just enough older than me to where the campy shit, story, like I didn't mind when I first watched it because it's like I was a young kid. I was under 10 years old.
Right.
So I'm saying, admittedly, like watching it for the first time, I just loved it because it was like, holy shit, Luke Skywalker's now this badass guy. He's got the green lightsaber, Jabba. Ooh, like I'm just saying, like everything when I was younger was so, like, honestly, this was my favorite Star Wars movie out of the trilogy, and it wasn't even close when I was younger. I grew older, saw the the next trilogy, and here we are. But nonetheless, like this movie, I get where you guys are coming from, but at the same time, when I was young enough and watching it for the first time, it just had that allure of like even more action per se. It had the most action out of any of the movies, out of the 3. So when you're a young kid under 10 years old watching that for the first time, you don't understand the bullshit political things that actually had the series have to do with, underlyingly meaning, when you're so young, you don't get that. I'm saying to your point on, the Force War and the lightsaber thing and everything with it. As much as I had it as 4 when I was a young kid, it was definitely number 1, no doubt.
So I have this at 4 and I have Empire at 5. And here's the reason I didn't flip flop them. And most people have Empire higher. Is I like the fact that it ties a bow on it for one, and it's the beginning, right? I know you said, Story, you didn't like the Jabba's palace, all that kind of stuff. I like Luke coming in there. You talked about the whole journey with Yoda, and this is when Luke is actually a fucking badass, and his entrance.
I mean, he's the dark side, bro.
Long.
He uses that dark side. That's awesome.
He's supposed to have the Force. He doesn't know he's standing on a trap door. Like, come on, that's
okay. I get that, but
you can nitpick it all day long, man. I just think that it's way better than Hoth. I like it better than the Hoth battle,
bro. Like he uses that dark side and still ends up on the light side. Like that's also why I love that movie, because it brings in. He's the one person in the first 3 movies until Vader at the end of the third movie to bring in like, oh, he has some of that dark side because he Force chokes people, but then still obviously does the right thing in the long run. So
None of us are mentioning the metal bikini that Carrie Fisher's wearing. That's pretty badass.
Oh, you mean that George
gonna
Lucas
bump it up.
mentioned to her that bikinis weren't real in space? So she was just wearing those metal bikinis with no undercarriage of anything.
Apparently that thing was
Okay.
super uncomfortable.
Oh, guaranteed,
I
man.
guarantee
Like,
her nips had to have been fucking raw as hell.
her tits were never the same after that fucking metal bikini. I want to hear your guys' take on Carrie Fisher's, like, you know, she was a sex symbol. I'm a big Carrie Fisher fan. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Burbs, and she is Tom Hanks' wife in that. I like Carrie Fisher. Obviously, a lot of turmoil there with Coke. She did a lot of blow. Let's just leave it at that. She did more blow. I partied. That bitch was doing blow like left and right. A lot of bad decisions in her career.
No woman did more than what's the name from Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks. Her and Carrie probably were doing equally
I would
together.
say Courtney Love, but she liked doing heroin, so that
She was
kind
a
of
little
like
younger than
limited
those
her
two.
blow production. But give me your take on Carrie Fisher as a sex symbol. Was it fair? I know the role was perfect for it, and obviously the metal bikini we talked about. Did she fit the sex appeal? Like, I know, like, back in the day, there wasn't as many sexy women. Like, nowadays, you have the last 20 years, you could pick a million better, hotter women than Carrie Fisher. But was she worth it? Is this justified, this Carrie Fisher sex appeal?
You ever seen Young Debbie Reynolds? Yeah. So Young Debbie Reynolds looks spot on to Carrie Fisher. Very attractive ladies. Yes, I mean, from a sex symbol standpoint, she launched a whole generation of young men that were obsessed with metal bikinis and slave whatevers, and et cetera, et cetera. From her career standpoint, she made a living off of these movies. She did some stuff. She was in Blues Brothers, which I don't really think is that good of a movie. I know, blasphemous. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, she hasn't really done much. She's been spots here and there. It's tough for me to say she was a sex symbol per se, because we don't really see it from. I'm sure there are magazines back in the day that portrayed her as such, but it's just tough to see that from one scene in a science fiction movie.
Professor Booty has a great comment here. The fish had the talent, man. She was the Antonio Brown of her generation. That is very accurate. I mean, that's very accurate, right? Ben, she lost her mind, right?
That is a
Antonio
good
Brown
way to
had a 7-year run of just probably the best receiver in the NFL, and then just lost his mind. Carrie Fisher didn't do that much. You know, she has the Blues Brothers cameo. She's in some stuff, but like, the sex appeal definitely was not there for her after this movie. She was not known as a sex symbol in any of her roles, but that's a really spot-on comparison. I really appreciate that. What do you got, Ray? I see Ray just freaking out over
It's an awful comparison. Are you fucking kidding me? Antonio Brown has nothing compared to Star Wars. I don't give a shit he has the Steelers.
That's not the comparison. It's the comparison of Princess Leia.
I'm sorry,
Carrie
if you're going to
Fisher.
compare bullshit.
It's an analogy.
Antonio Brown, Carrie Fisher. I'm going to compare that Carrie Fisher had Star Wars that is way bigger in the whole entire world by 1,000,000 times over than the Pittsburgh Steelers that maybe have.
Antonio Brown was the best receiver in the NFL for 5 seasons.
Whoa,
that's pretty badass.
The NFL is not a worldwide phenomenon. Star Wars is, my friend.
I think you're not getting the idea of the comparison and analogy.
It's an analogy.
Story.
You guys are telling. I do. You aren't getting it. Star Wars is a lifelong.
I don't understand how this pisses you off so much.
I'm not mad. I'm trying to tell you the facts. Is that you guys are trying to explain to me that Carrie Fisher was a what? From 77 to 83 sex symbol? Get the fuck over yourselves. That woman was an
that's what she was.
No, she was not. She was an all-time nerd sex symbol, just as Linda Carter was. Linda Carter, by the way, I will say is a bigger sex symbol as Wonder Woman than Carrie Fisher, and I don't think that's even close.
Antonio Brown is still an all-time fantasy sex symbol to us because what he represented. Story. Remember our league when Antonio Brown was the #1 pick for 4 straight years? We're still chasing Antonio Brown, just like we're still chasing Carrie Fisher, dude.
77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83. That's 7 years, my friend. Whoa. Well, I just proved your ass wrong. Bigger sex symbol for a longer time.
It's just an analogy, right? It's just an analogy.
I know. I'm just saying.
Making a comparison
I'm not even mad. I just
Carrie
don't
Fisher
understand.
is too
You're
big.
not even mad.
No, I'm just annoyed. I'm more annoyed that you guys are not throwing down what I'm throwing down.
Dude,
Like,
Carrie
I don't
Fisher's
understand-
career it was a mega disappointment after this movie. If you say anything else,
so was Antonio
you're
Brown.
crazy.
He had his 6-year career, and what did he do? He retired in the middle of a game.
But NFL careers last 5, 6, 7 years. Actress, dude. Carrie Fisher actively destroyed her career. Harrison Ford had a 50-year career. Actors have a 50-year career. Dude, what are you talking? I don't understand what you're talking about because wide receivers last way shorter than actresses.
Destroy his career. Explain to me that. Because
that's why it's a perfect analogy. That's why it's a perfect analogy.
I feel like we might have gotten off topic a little bit.
Yeah, just move it along.
No, I love it. Thank you, Professor.
Because you don't want to understand what I'm saying. I don't understand what you're saying. Let's move it along.
Ray, do you have a Carrie Fisher poster in your room? You know the scene from Christmas Vacation where the old guy's looking at that picture?
Rob, we already threw this down in the very first movie we threw down. If I had any Star Wars hottie, it would be Natalie Portman and it'd be over fucking everywhere.
100%. And Booty, don't apologize. That was actually one of the greatest comments we had.
Sorry.
So
never say sorry.
Almost as good as the Adrian Peterson rush. AP all time, kind of a shitbag as a person, but all time running back. Longer career than our boy. Right in Pittsburgh, but still, Adrian Peterson, all-time shitbag.
Jeez, Peter, you're more excited than Adrian Peterson at an arboretum.
Daddy, what kind of tree is that?
Man, I want to beat you with so many things around here.
For the record, Antonio Brown played 12 years in the NFL. Just FYI.
Yeah, but we also you talked about he was awesome for 6. Carrie Fisher was awesome for 6.
Call it 7.
Carrie Fisher had a over 12-year career, my friend.
He had 1,000 yards.
77 through 2000. That's more than 12 years. So, boom.
Booty wants to know which is the best Star Wars movie
Episode 3.
From a fantasy perspective. I'm trying to think what that means. We all say the bottom. Me, Ray, and Ben all say Episode 3. Story says Episode 4. We all love Rogue One. I didn't do the math. What is our most voted?
I'm saying Clone Wars for fantasy aspects. That means the Jedi had the most people that were live and at power, and the Sith had Count Dooku and Palpatine. I'm just saying in general, I feel as if that might have been it for overall, maybe Old Republic time. Ben, help me out here. I'm saying, I don't know.
There wasn't much on that side for that time.
No, but I'm just saying I feel as if there was a football game between the Jedi and the Sith, and it's there's only 2 would be Count Dooku, Grievous, and Palpatine versus the Jedi, which all the movie I always saw in the Clone Wars. I would hope to want to take the Jedi, but obviously they lost, did they not? So
Wally's saying Phantom Menace is so underrated. All right, we're gonna do a little overview. Last couple minutes here. I'm gonna go through and just show some of these late viewers. I want to show our rankings here. You can also go back and watch the entire video. We have Episode 1. This is out of 7 movies. We added Rogue One, 1 through 6, and Rogue One. 7 would be the lowest ranking. 1 is the highest, obviously. Episode 1, we didn't like as a group. Episode 2, we did not like as a group. You can kind of flip-flop those. And then we had Episode 3. We love, the younger guns here love Episode 3. And Story was a little bit of a curmudgeon. We love you, Story. Rogue One, we all kind of liked, actually, besides Ray. Ray was the lowest on Rogue One. Now we get to Episode 4, A New Hope. We all love that. Me and Story were the highest on this one. Now we're looking at Episode 5. I was the lowest. I got a lot of shit about this one. Although I will say, again, Episode 5 was really close to Episode 1. The top 5 for me are interchangeable, almost interchangeable. And then we finished what we just finished with was Episode 6. All pretty uniform. This is a good film, but not the best film. Now, Story, what do you have to say for those people that think Episode 6 is the best? Is that just batshit crazy? Is that just nostalgia because it's the end of it and they love the Ewoks? People love the Ewoks. Girls love the Ewoks.
People do love the Ewoks. Like I said, the battles there are really good in the throne room. It's an incredible last 30 minutes. There was a marketing decision made it was supposed to originally be on the Wookiee planet that this battle was supposed to take place on, but George Lucas wisely